In this video, we're going to talk about rotations. Rotations are just one of the three types of transformations. The other two are your reflections and your translations that we've already discussed. On the teacher side, we're going to take a few notes. A rotation is just when a figure moves around on a point. The point that it moves around on is called the center point. And the center point doesn't have to be exactly in the middle of the object. It can be on a corner, and then the object will move around on that one point. When you are having rotations occur, they can come in all different degrees, and the most common that you're going to see are your 90 degrees and your 180 degrees. That's not to say you won't see the other ones. You could see a 45-degree rotation. You could see a 190-degree rotation. And you will see more of them as you get into math further in your years. But for our sake in 5th grade, those are the most common that we're going to actually see. Now let's go look at this website. It's that same website that we've been using, and it will give us a little more information on the rotations, and we'll get to see some examples, okay? Here we talked about rotation means turning around to center, and they actually have the center point right on kind of the corner of this one. And what happens when it's rotating, it's creating a circle. That's why we talk about a center point, because it moves around in a circle. That's probably something we need to add to our notes. So let's go back to our notes real quick. And let's put it up here with the center point. It moves in a circle. Okay, so you can see the illustration there as that rectangle is moving around on that center point. It's going in a circle, and sometimes it's going to go counterclockwise, sometimes it's going to go clockwise. And usually when you see a rotation drawn on a coordinate grid, it's going to have a line for you to show the rotation. It may not always, so don't worry about that. Okay, now this example right here is showing you that the center point is actually on the figure. You're going to see some where the center point's not touching the figure, but instead it's a little bit past the figure. Here's an example of that one, and see, it's telling you that it's rotating with the arrow, but do you see how the actual center point is not touching the figure at any time? So this guy is actually just moving around in a circle around the center point instead of the center point being on the actual figure. Okay, so let's look at an example here. I'm going to show you this right here moving at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to use the angle up here, okay? And we're going to rotate, and it's going to stay on itself. Watch this. Do you see how the center point is on the actual figure, and then it rotated it 90 degrees. Now, I'm going to make it where the point's not on the figure anymore. Do you see how I'm moving it? And now the figure is going to rotate around that point instead of rotating on itself. This is different from translation because the figure doesn't look the same all the time. It has been rotated, but it's not like a reflection and it did a mirror image. So you got to be careful with that. And very important to remember that you're sometimes going to have the point where it's not on the figure. You're just going to be rotating around a point. And sometimes your center point is going to be on the figure and it's just rotating on itself in a circle. But either way, they're still rotating around in circles.